So, does it hurt?
Yeah, it does a little. It's not bad, though, if you wait for the right time. It's like a small static shock. Once you're in, you're fine, though.
What? I know you've done it, okay? And I can only assume that you don't have cancer or male impotence because of it. But I mean, what is your opinion on how safe this thing is?
Aaron, I can imagine no way in which this thing would be considered anywhere remotely close to safe. All I know is I spent 6 hours in there, and I'm still alive. You still want to do it?
Oh boy, it's a time travel podcast. My name is Nate, and he's lived this podcast twice already. It's Brian Martin.
Hello, everybody.
Brian, this is the big one.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is kind of the big deal, right? One of the concepts that you had for this podcast after Quantum Leap was Time Travel 101.
This is like a 600 level course in time travel.
Right. But I think people have been waiting for it. I think we said at the end of the last episode, anytime I mention that I do a podcast, like, oh, well, have you watched Primer, which is what we're covering tonight? I think people are looking for us to do it. I think we had a couple of fans actually request it as well.
Oh, good. Good. I mean, it's hard to do a time travel anything without this entering the discussion at this point. This movie's been around for almost 20 years.
I know. I didn't realize it was that old. That's true.
Kind of just sneaks up on you. Like, it's hard to believe this is 20 years old. It's hard to believe The Room is 20 years old. You know, these movies have just been around for so long now. And
it's hard to believe I'm not 20 years old. That's the...
And I'm glad you mentioned, our old format. The first, God, I don't know, 50-ish episodes or so?
Yeah, at least.
We're largely dedicated to Quantum Leap, specifically the new Quantum Leap series that lasted from 2022 to 2024. I don't know if new listeners have come in since then that are like, wow, I really can't go back and engage with those older episodes because I don't know what the hell is going on. I didn't watch that. Well, great news, guys, because as of August 14th, which is, I think, the Thursday after this episode is going to reach your ears, all of new Quantum Leap is coming to Netflix.
Oh, Netflix.
Yeah, the entirety of the new series with Raymond Lee and Caitlin Bassett and all the rest will be on Netflix as of August 14th. So if you didn't watch that series and you want to listen to the first 2 seasons of this show with actual context, now's your chance.
How about that?
Theorizing that podcast audiences wanted to listen to 2 grown men talk about time travel, Nate Bowden and Brian Martin started a show dedicated to Quantum Leap.
You don't even have to have Peacock anymore. Does that mean it's off the cock?
Maybe off the cock, finally. Yeah. Switch teams.
Huh.
The other big thing I wanted to mention was that also August 14th, coming up this Thursday, August 14th, and then again Tuesday, August 19th, and I mentioned this a few times, Riff Tracks' 2025 live show is going to be in theaters those 2 nights only. It's Time Cop.
Time travel.
Yeah, time travel.
Well, beam me up, Scotty.
I think I'm going on the 19th. I think that's when I'm going to get tickets for.
They must be doing that around my area too, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm. It's all over the place.
Wow, okay.
Like Ugly on a Crocodile, it's all over the place.
But speaking of all over the place, this movie, Primer.
Yeah.
Now, when was the last time you had seen this before your last viewing?
About 3 months ago.
Oh, really?
It was recent, but it doesn't matter. Here's the deal with Prime. It doesn't matter how recently you've watched it. You need to watch it again.
Yeah, that's the truth. I had not seen this until preparation for the podcast, and I watched it twice.
Yeah.
And we anticipated a recording a day ago, and I was like, okay, I'll watch this the night before. And now it's been 2 nights.
Uh-oh.
And I feel a little behind. Because I have watched this no less than 2 times, and there's a YouTube animated explanation of Primer that I've watched at least 3 times.
Yeah.
Primer is quite possibly the most complex time travel film ever made, with multiple timelines, multiple doubles, and dishonesty between the key players.
And that's not to say that, like, oh, I'm stupid, I don't get it. But it's a matter of once you have it, and you understand it, and you get it, it goes away.
Yeah.
You're like, now, wait a minute.
I had a similar experience when I was learning chemistry in high school.
Oh God!
Like
yeah,
there was a day where I struggled with that class so much, and there was a day where everything finally clicked into place, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I see the code, but I got so
I never got there.
I got so keyed up, like seeing the code, that it slipped through my fingers so fucking fast. Like I couldn't hold on to it. I was like, "Wait, no, don't leave!" And then like within the period of like a minute and a half, I got it, and then I didn't anymore, and I was like. Maybe the human brain isn't all it's cracked up to be. Or maybe it's just me.
Yeah, maybe not.
I just took the D and moved on with my life.
But I do get that. I mean, seeing this movie is very much like seeing a pattern or seeing a code. Mm-hmm. And once you get it and you can see the paths of the two main characters. See, what's confusing about it, and I know you'll get to a synopsis here in a second, but we've got two main protagonist characters, and each of them time travel, sometimes independently and sometimes together.
Yes.
And it creates so many different timelines that it's difficult to keep them all straight and which one is affecting which other one at what time.
It becomes a matter of who independently traveled back before the other one. They do it in tandem most of the time, but one of them, we're not privy to his, say, extracurricular activities, time traveling, until really late in the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, see, the thing that when I envisioned this podcast, we didn't quite go the professorial route that you were first thinking of, but...
Much to your dad's chagrin, I'm sure.
Yeah, right. But this is the example of what I was anticipating this podcast being, trying to puzzle out the effects of time travel paradoxes.
Yeah, I think that there are stories where the time travel is merely a plot device, right? It's just a means to an end. And
right.
A lot of what we watch and talk about falls into that category.
Yeah, especially this season.
This is very much the time travel is the entire point kind of story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the real point on a philosophical level is the widening divide between the ethical choices made by Abe and Aaron in the course of this movie. But the time travel is what facilitates all of it. It touches every aspect of the movie. This is the quintessential time travel movie.
Yeah. So as far as the intertwined narrative and the twists and the turns and the knots that we run into, have you ironed any of that out for a synopsis?
Well, I mean, I technically have two synopses.
Am I supposed to choose the better of the two?
No. I've got the public consumption one up front, and then I'll talk about the second one a little bit later.
Okay. Well, so what is this movie about?
Whoa, wait a minute. Doc, are you trying to tell me that my mother has got the hots for me?
Precisely.
So Primer, released in 2004, was written, directed, produced, edited, and scored by Shane Carruth. This is his debut feature film. It was filmed on a budget of about $1.50. Fun facts about Shane Carruth. He was born in my hometown of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina in, I want to say, 1973. He directed only one other feature film, which was 2013's Upstream Color. He's been talking about other projects over the years, but nothing's materialized yet. Steven Soderbergh of Out of Sight, Ocean's 11 fame, once characterized Carruth as the illegitimate offspring of David Lynch and James Cameron, which is pretty on the nose, I think.
Oh.
And also, Carruth has been accused at least twice of domestic abuse. Which is probably why we don't hear about him so much anymore. Yeah, sorry.
I was looking at his IMDb earlier, and I was like, oh, this guy hasn't done shit since, like, 2017. What's going on?
No, that might be part
God
of it.
damn it.
Yeah. So
Warren Ellis first, and now... Okay.
We're just parading them out for you.
Perfect.
So this movie stars Shane Carruth as Aaron and David Sullivan as Abe. There are a few other sort of incidental characters that come and go, but they're the two main characters in this film. Aaron and Abe are two engineers who, with their colleagues Philip and Robert, enjoy a side hustle developing tech projects in Aaron's garage. While experimenting with electromagnetism as a means of reducing the weight of objects, Abe and Aaron stumble across something unexpected. The box they've built for their experiment creates a causal loop. This loop sends the object inside back and forth between 2 points. Point A being when the device was activated, and point B being the point at which the device was deactivated. The object inside can theoretically be retrieved at any time in that loop, whether it's in the past or the present. It isn't long before Abe asks Aaron to join him outside of a U-Haul self-storage facility where they discuss the prospect of conducting such an experiment on themselves. As it turns out, Abe already has conducted that experiment, and Aaron observes a past version of Abe entering the storage facility, where Abe has constructed a version of the box large enough for a human. Building a second box, the men start with simple enough ambitions: turning the boxes on in the morning, hunkering down in a hotel for the next 6 hours as they monitor the stock market, and then returning to the storage facility where they shut down the boxes and climb inside. They then emerge 6 hours earlier, ready to engage in some well-informed day trading, while their earlier versions are in those hotel rooms.
With us so far, audience?
Yeah. As time goes by, the men begin to notice side effects, both physical and environmental, as they develop ear bleeds, find that their handwriting is deteriorating, and encounter other possible time travelers with little to no understanding of how and when they use the box. Abe and Aaron's divergent personalities lead the former to question the ethics of the project, while the latter creates increasingly complicated consequences as he is consumed by the potential of the project and his own ambitions. And that's pretty much the summary of what this movie is about. Now, the second one I've got is essentially a timeline of the traveling from beginning to end.
Yeah, see, it might have been something I'd want to hear before having watched the movie. So if you haven't seen Primer and you're already listening, probably doesn't hurt to have heard that synopsis.
I don't think I spoiled anything
in the
for
box. No, and I don't mean to make it sound so convoluted, but to be fair, it really does take a couple of viewings, I feel like, to get it all under your belt.
Yeah,
and
for those of you out there who did watch Lost, which we talked about last season, there's an episode in the second season of that show where a film strip is discovered that details certain clues and hints about one of the bases on the island. And upon watching that film strip, as soon as it ends, Locke says, "I think we need to watch that again." And that's pretty much the natural reaction to Primer when it hits its credits.
Yeah.
At the point where Abe's girlfriend's dad is following them in the car.
Right.
That's the point where my wife said, "Okay, I officially have no idea what's going on." And she just threw in the towel from there on out.
She threw in the towel. Well, there was a moment where I lost the thread too, and I think it was maybe the second time that Aaron goes to the birthday party that you didn't I don't think mentioned in the synopsis.
No.
But there are events in this movie that they continue to interact with and change the results of, and there's a birthday party in there that becomes very important to this story. And by the second time they were reliving that, I was like, wait, what? Why are we doing this? And part of my notes, I've written down notes of things that I want to talk about, but I've also got a whole section here, like a bottom third of a paper with questions that I'm going to be like, now, wait, what?
Are these all yes or no questions, I hope?
No, well, no, they're
certainly not.
Some of them are, what was this about? Some of them are, do I have this right? So that'll be a little segment later in the show called Wait, What?
Wait, what the hell happened here? Yeah, the first time we're doing that segment.
So I'll definitely bring those up. But as the director of this podcast, do you have a direction you want to go with it, or should...
Well, let's start simple enough.
Okay.
Initial thoughts, feelings.
It's more complicated than I really thought it would be, despite everybody's warnings ahead
Like,
of time.
I feel like we warned you. Like, I feel like you were warned.
No, yeah, but hey, I'm one half of a time travel podcast. You know, like, this
Sure.
is not going to be over my head. I deal with this stuff on the daily.
Sure, I think about it all the time. And you're like,
Yeah.
do I, though? Have I Shane Carruth thought about this?
But the overall feeling that I have for it is he clearly put a lot of thought into timelines and paradoxes. And I feel like that is what he was trying to weave together. And after having watched it the first time, I wished there was more meat to a story.
Okay.
You know, because it's a loop of things that happen, but at the first viewing, I felt like there wasn't a lot of story. But on second viewing, you know, I see there is a story, sort of a character change that they're trying to do with each of these people, but I do wish it was stronger.
Okay.
I guess in the larger worldview of this movie, it's really effective in its time travel mechanics and maybe a little less effective in its storytelling.
Yeah, you brought up the birthday party, and the birthday party feels really incidental, and then you realize it's kind of a huge deal, but it still kind of feels incidental.
Right.
The birthday party's not the point, and it really isn't the point. The point is the divide between Abe and Aaron. And I did listen to the director's commentary for a bit on this one, too.
Oh, cool.
Okay, there's the ERBP logo. I'm Shane Carruth. I'm the writer and director of the film.
And Carruth talks about it like this. Like, these are two people who have never had to think about their ethics and make moral decisions in their life. They're just very analytical engineer types. And then suddenly they accidentally discover this thing that places a huge emphasis on ethics and morality. And the two of them just kind of go in different directions with it, right?
Right.
And then the birthday party facilitates some of that, and I think it softens the blow a little bit of Aaron's choices, because...
Yeah, which I'm not sure you want to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like, you get to the end and you're like, I see both sides. I get what you're both trying to achieve here.
Right.
I'm not sure either one of you is necessarily the quote-unquote bad guy in this situation. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad place to end the movie. Aaron's story feels a little bit more ominous, just given the last scene of the film. But when you're looking at them and they're parting ways for the last time, and Abe's like, you shouldn't come back here, you know?
Yeah.
It feels like you just kind of, I understand both sides, and I see why you guys are creating this divide.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the fallout and the why of the fallout, I guess. I think that one of the things that's funny is, you know, there are several videos on YouTube that are like Primer Explained, or, you know, the narrative of Primer.
They're all bunk.
Well,
poppycock, I say.
I don't know.
Maybe they're good. I don't know.
One of them really helped, and I watched it a couple of times, and I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, and I've got it. And what it laid out were that there were two particularly plot-driving forces. One of them is this birthday party, and the other is Aaron's desire to punch Platt in the face. These are the two things that kind of deviate them from their time travel plan.
I like that they point that out, because that's the starting point of Aaron's journey.
And then the other one that I watched was like, there are superfluous things that happen that will distract you, like the birthday party and wanting to punch Platt in the face.
So on the one hand, it's very serious and informative. On the other hand, it's distracting you from what's going on.
Depending on your perspective.
That's one of the beautiful things about this movie. And I think I told you after you watched it the first time, I said, yeah, there are things in this movie that Carruth put in there without explanation, just to raise those sorts of questions. And the big one that's just kind of in there with no explanation is the appearance of Abe's girlfriend's dad.
Right.
Who slips into a coma, and you're like, this guy clearly traveled through time at some point. By the end of the movie, we still don't know what happened.
Abe and Aaron have no way of knowing. All they know is that here's a man who clearly has learned about it. He must have learned from one of them, and yet neither one of them can imagine a scenario in which they would have told somebody else about it. It's important for us to not know these things because they don't know, and they don't have any way of knowing. And it's Abe's, especially, his not knowing that causes him to use the failsafe machine and go back 3 days and reboot everything with the intention of, possibly not even telling Aaron about the machine this time around, if that means that he can stop this line of events from happening.
I like that because it's like these two guys who are only seeing the time travel from their perspective. Suddenly, an X factor comes in there and they're like, whoa, what is this? You know what it's like, Nate? It's like Leaper X.
I don't understand. I know. And that's why I'm going to win.
It's like, oh shit, did we do something that facilitated this guy coming back in the future? And where did this guy come from? Right?
Right. I think we thought about that a lot harder than the writers of that show.
We certainly did, but Caruth thought about it harder than we did.
Yeah, that's... By the end of the movie, though, you realize that the story's not over enough for it to be a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, by the end of the movie, you realize the story keeps going, and there's more to it that would have led to the things that you witnessed in the movie.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yes, maybe we don't know why Rachel's father time traveled or when that might have happened, but by the end of the movie, there's plenty of opportunity for that to still happen.
Yes.
Yeah. So it is interesting. It's driven by events that aren't necessarily on screen. Like this thing we were talking about, wanting to punch this guy Platt in the face.
Yeah.
A former investor or partner that kind of screwed these guys out of a job or out of an invention.
Yes.
Something of that nature, right? So they're kind of left to pick up the pieces and start their own company again, while this other guy was apparently making a bunch of money off of something that they had helped develop.
Well, what do you mean? What would I do with my life, or what would I do tomorrow?
My God, either.
Well, I'd have to do something constructive. I'd have to do something that would help. Something to make you feel good.
I know. That's fantastic. Good. This is what I would do. I would wake up tomorrow morning, and I'd go over to Gabriel Capital Inc., and I would tell Joseph Platt's receptionist that I'm there to see him. And when he comes out, I would ram my fist through the flat of his nose. Just one good punch, one good pow.
That's amazing. It's about time.
That is so great.
Where did this come from? You're the one that's always defending the guy.
I would only do it, though, if I knew that, no one would find out or get hurt or anything. Like, I wish that there was a way that I could do it and go back and tell myself not to. Because I just want to know what it feels like. That's all, really.
Right, so they would know what it felt like.
And it's a motivation for Aaron to do some of the things that he ends up doing in this movie. But you never meet Platt. He's only referred to.
Yeah.
So there are things that are not on screen that really affect the actions of the characters. Is that to the film's detriment? I don't know.
I don't think so. Not with the Platt thing.
Maybe it's an advantage.
The Platt thing, we get the Platt thing. All he has to say is, I want to walk into this office building, I want to march past the secretary, and I want to punch Platt in the face. And it's like, we already have all the context we need to understand.
Yeah, everybody's been there, right?
It's like, it's Office Space,
Everybody's got somebody they want to punch in the face.
Yeah, absolutely. so you...
And if you don't, you might be that person somebody wants to punch in the face.
Look in the mirror, my friend. The call is coming from inside the house. But yeah, so I think the movie, it throws a lot at you, but when it comes to stuff like that, there's enough typical kind of tropey kind of things in there. We don't need any further explanation. We don't need to know why Rachel's ex-boyfriend is the way he is.
Yeah.
We can accept him as this guy who's a bit of a loose cannon and abusive and would probably do something dangerous, right?
Right.
And the same thing with the office guy.
Platt.
So the movie spends all of its time not really exploring those avenues so much as it is just honing in on what Abe and Aaron are doing day to day with the time travel.
What they're doing because of those things.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we know enough about their motivations. The most important part is, what do you do with that? Right? Like, what is the natural response to accidentally building time travel in your garage?
Yeah. That's really cool. And I understand that that's what the movie is. I'm wishing I could have my cake and eat it too. Because I feel like some of the threads that get dropped, there's enough in those events that you could really do some character building too. And I think the character building that is there kind of gets lost because you're so fascinated with the time travel element. You know, like really, like anybody that you ask about this movie, they'll be like, oh, have you seen Primer? Man, it's so trippy. All this stuff you have to keep in your mind, and does it all fit together, and how does it work? But I feel like they could have also really pushed some of the ideas and some of the actions that the characters take as growth and change, and like this guy at the beginning, hate him at the end, hate this guy at the beginning, love him at the end, that kind of thing that you're looking for in a story, right?
Yeah.
And it's either a rise or a fall, and there's opportunity for that, and I think it kind of happens in this movie.
Oh, I think it happens.
Right, but because everything else is so elevated, you walk away really only thinking about how do the timelines come together.
Yeah, because it sacrifices the normal dramatic beats of a story like this.
Right.
In favor of really focusing in on the I don't want to call it the scientific aspect.
No, but
even though that's what it ends up being, right?
Yeah.
All of the dialogue and all of the conversations they're having over the first 10 minutes of this movie, that's real stuff that they're talking about.
See, rather than changing the surrounding temperature, we'll just change the level that it'll conduct, the transition temperature. And see, by bombarding these edges,
Look, what he's saying is these guys, they're dropping the ceramic, the temperature lower and lower. Makes the ceramic less resistant, knocks out the interior magnetic field.
Exactly.
What he's saying is
what I'm saying is, we drop the box down on it. Okay, focus our own magnetic field to the gate, knock out with the inverse what's going on inside the ceramic.
That's smart.
And that should change the transition temperature to something we can work with.
What are we saying that is?
Hopefully near room temperature.
What is that about the best mathematician's a lazy one?
Like Carruth went out of his way to make sure that the dialogue was as authentic as possible.
Right, without dumbing it down for the audience.
And that's something I really, really love about the beginning of this movie that lets you kind of get sucked into it. It never talks over you because you feel already like you're kind of eavesdropping on a conversation that you shouldn't be, right? It's not so much that you're watching these characters as so much as you're just overhearing their conversation, and you're getting bits and pieces of it, but you're not supposed to understand how it works. You're supposed to believe that these people understand how it works. And then they show you how it works, and you're like, oh, okay. And by the end of the movie, you're like, how did that work again? but that's what the whole point of the movie is.
Instead, he decided to trust that his audience would return to the film again and again in order to fully understand it.
Right. Well, I think that the conversations are familiar enough that you don't need to know necessarily what they're talking about as much as you do why they're talking about it.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Sure. Anybody who watched Sanford and Son knows what a side hustle is. You know?
I liken it to like Apple, Steve Jobs and Wozniak, you know, building their things together. In that story.
That is absolutely where this came from, yeah.
Right, exactly. And so you don't necessarily need to know whether the math works out or how the math works to recognize their aspirations and the sacrifices they're making to get where they're trying to go.
Yes.
That's the key. There are simple moments where they need, you know, certain elements that they can get out of the catalytic converter in their car. So instead of spending money on purchasing something, they're going to take apart their car. They're going to take apart their refrigerator and pull out the tubing so they don't have to buy stuff because they're broke, but they're trying to build something from scratch.
One of the greatest moments early on in the movie is someone asked someone else, did you keep the receipt? It's like they're going to expense all of this out on their taxes at the end of the year.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
That's where we're at with this, yeah.
And I really enjoyed this conversation at the very beginning of the movie where they're the four of them. Philip and Robert, I think, is the other one.
Yeah.
So there were four of them, and they were all coming up with different ideas and helping each other, and kind of like a think tank in the garage. And sitting at the kitchen table, mailing out whatever it was that they had invented, and it just wasn't becoming profitable. And they're just hammering out ideas and stuff like that. It was an interesting enough movie, even at that point, before you get into the implications of time travel. So I don't know if I would call those character development moments so much as like an explanation of where these people are in their lives.
Yeah, I mean, the motivation is obviously not to invent time travel.
No. That kind of happens by accident.
Once they do
cool.
accidentally do it, the first thing they do is naturally, everybody has thought about it. Marty McFly thought about it. How can I use this to make a quick buck?
Yeah.
And playing the stock market it's the sports almanac of this movie.
I think it's fun that before they actually turn it into a time machine, Aaron's just excited that they might be able to publish.
Yes.
Their scientific discoveries. And also, I think that we need to start with how they discovered it was a time machine. We should probably start there because that's kind of neat. What they're trying to build, I think, as you mentioned, is to find a way to lighten the load of things using electromagnetic fields and whatnot.
And, there's that scene where the paper holes that have been punched out, the hole punches, and they kind of drop those little paper bits into the magnetic field, and it kind of snow falls down like that.
Right.
Carruth said that's the only real special effects shot in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Which is cool to listen to. If you're able to listen to his commentary track, it's really cool listening to his explanation of that and how they filmed it. Or basically how they produced it. Real low budget kind of way.
Well, when they started dropping it, the camera kind of pans into a shot of a monitor where those things are falling.
And that was edited, of course.
Right, to slow it down or something.
Yeah. Very creatively and artfully shot there.
That's another aspect of the movie. Like I said, I do think we should start with how they discovered the time travel, but there's another side to this movie, which is the filmmaking of an amateur, which is to say that was his first film.
It feels real. Like there's something very visceral and real about all of this. And I think that's what adds to the movie's mythology as the archetypal time travel film is that it doesn't star Brad Pitt. It's not made by Denis Villeneuve. This is like just a guy who drove around Texas filming wherever he could film, from the parking lot adjacent to a U-Haul storage center to a Kroger to, wherever he could film. The garage is at his parents' house. So the movie, like the time travel devices themselves, feel very thrown together, very stitched together. And I think all of it works.
Yeah, and you can appreciate the effort.
Yeah,
that's put in. It's like you can see it on screen.
Yeah.
And does it look cheap? Yeah. Yeah, definitely looks like it's made on a budget, but it doesn't hurt it because it really just looks like recognizable scenes. They're basically in places that everybody has been.
Yeah, this movie plays to the inherent limitations.
Yeah, but getting back to this point of how they discover what they've built is, in fact, a time machine. It's really fascinating because it's about the buildup of a protein.
Yeah.
Everything builds up this protein slowly over time, randomly, right? And so they've got this Weeble Wobble toy inside their box. They call it the box. They knew how much it weighed and how much they were trying to reduce its weight, I guess. But it kept building up these proteins on it, and they had to keep cleaning it off. And eventually, Abe takes this to
the fungus guy. Take it to a fungus guy.
He took it to a fungus guy.
As you're wont to do. Yeah. We all got a fungus guy in our lives. I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
That's right.
Hey, nice to meet you. You got a fungus guy?
I could put you onto a really great fungus guy.
Yeah. You need a fungus guy? I got a fungus guy if you need one.
Well, there's one other way that it could secrete that much protein. It could do it naturally, but that takes a lot longer. But if it has a little moisture and it's left alone, it'll start secreting and it'll build up, but it takes a long time.
How long?
A long time.
More than a few days?
Yes.
Then how long?
He says to get the same amount of protein that we have, the same amount that I was wiping off every 5 days, and 5 days later it would accumulate.
He says it would take about 5 to 6 years.
I don't want to belittle this guy.
Exactly. So I said, screw it, and I put my watch in there.
And that's what triggers in his mind that time is passing differently within the confines of the box than it is outside the box. And then he's got this sort of explanation of the loop from point A to point B and back again that I'm still not sure I understand.
Okay, this is what's going on. There's an A in and there's a B in.
Okay, let's say the AN is 12 o'clock, the BN is 12:01. All right, we start the machine with the Weeble at the AN. It travels forward
You
normally.
gotta write this down.
Hey, Aaron, there's nothing to write down.
Well, then I'm writing it.
Okay, fine. Look, it travels forward normally towards the BN, and when it gets there, the feed runs down parabolically until it's just stopped, but it doesn't. It curves back around towards the AN.
Just imagine the Enterprise slingshotting around the sun, but never leaving the sun's orbit until it's plucked from it. Right?
Okay.
That's the easiest way to travel back in time. You're in the 23rd century, easiest way to travel back through time, slingshot around the sun at warp speed. We all know that. You guys know it,
Right.
we know it. It's like you've got this feedback loop that's going back and forth and back and forth. And you can theoretically pluck something out of that loop at any given moment. It's always existing in there at every point in between. And you just have to know when to retrieve it out. So that's why when they construct the box big enough for themselves and they start it, wait 6 hours, and then climb in, well, they just set their alarms for 6 hours, wake up in the box, leave the box 6 hours later, and they're back. Now, if they were in there for 12 hours, they'd end up right back where they started. Right?
Right. So if they turn on their box at 9 and then get into the box at 3, but stay in there for 12 hours, they'd get out of the box at 3.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the only method of time travel we've covered that isn't instantaneous.
Right. Which makes it feel, again, more real.
More real, but I also think it adds to what makes it complicated.
Yes.
Like if you could just walk through a door in time travel,
you have to game it out.
It's easy for people to wrap their mind around like, oh, and then at this instant he traveled back to this point.
And that's before any of the characters take a disassembled box back in time with them and assemble their own second box.
Yeah, that gets a little confusing too. Might need to talk through some of that also.
Yeah.
But now that I've kind of described how they discovered the time travel, before we dive really deep into it, the other thing I would want to talk about is kind of this guerrilla filmmaking that you mentioned.
Yeah.
What do you think of this guy as a filmmaker?
I mean, it's hard to say.
Yeah, at first it was sort of like, okay, this guy's an engineer with aspirations of being a filmmaker. The same way the guy that wrote
The Martian, Andrew Weir.
Who's clearly a scientist, but maybe not a writer.
Right,
you know? Like this guy's clearly an engineer that's thought about a lot of this stuff, but is he a filmmaker? I thought maybe not, but when I was looking at it again, there's some things there that if they're intentional are really masterful. And if they're not intentional, then I'm bringing something to it, but it really works.
No, I think it takes more than a good story to make a good filmmaker, obviously, right?
Right.
And you have to have an eye for certain things like framing, mise en scène, but I really think Carruth was onto something here, and he had a distinct style and a visual sense of storytelling that was, again, I haven't seen Upstream Color, so I am only basing it on what I see here.
Right.
Based on what I see here, I don't understand why I haven't watched Upstream Color, because like this is enough to make me want to know what he did next. Now, obviously, hasn't done much since then, so maybe this was sort of a flash in the pan thing. What I kind of liken it to is the Blair Witch Project, right? Okay. Where these two, like, nobodies came out of nowhere, managed to stitch this thing together that was just maybe one of the best examples of its genre. And
almost started a genre.
Yeah, and people could come along and try to replicate it, and it just cannot be done because you can't capture that again, right?
Yeah.
And I really want to see Upstream Color at this point, because I want to know if this stuff was just accidental and subject to the limitations of his filmmaking, or whether it was something that was more intentional and something he was able to carry on to other projects.
Yeah. Well, I'll say I knew some folks that were in the film program where I went to school at the Savannah College of Art and Design. And so we took some introductory film classes. So I helped with several student films that are at like freshman, sophomore level, right? So you're just getting used to it. And you all think that you're filmmakers because you've seen movies, you know? And there's so much that goes into it that we couldn't even describe it here. But what I take from that experience and watching this movie, it seems like he's operating a little bit on that level of, I just want to make this look cool in the camera. Right? Then there are a couple of times in here where I was like, man, if this is intentional storytelling shooting, that's fucking awesome.
It's really good, right?
And then other times I'm thinking, is that intentional, or is he just think it's cool to have that giant slide in the foreground?
Right.
You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah,
like
sure.
Most of these shots that I'm trying to describe, the characters will either be in the foreground in like one corner of the screen, and then 3/4 of the screen is a lot of empty negative space filled up by big blocky things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're talking about like a shot down a hallway that has so many windows, you basically see a big flat building, right?
Mm-hmm.
But your characters are in the foreground, and all like 2/3 of the side of the screen is just this flat building image,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And another one, I think it was when they were talking to the fungus guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were out in kind of the lobby of this weird fancy building. And I think Carruth probably just wanted to take advantage of the scenery that they were in. Interesting stairways and railings and stuff in the background, but it's kind of negative space.
I think it's also possible that he wasn't supposed to be filming in places like that, so he had to kind of hide the camera. So you end up with these like interesting angles and stuff.
Right.
All of the lighting in the movie is natural.
Yeah.
Right. And that's one of those things that sticks out to me is like, okay, so that was a limitation that he faced that end up really working in the movie's favor. Like if he had had access to more set lighting, would he have used it? The answer is probably yes.
But would he have been able to use it well?
That's the question, right? And I think I think of the scene where Aaron and Abe are out at Abe's vehicle outside of his apartment complex, and it's nighttime out.
Hey, you feel like a steak? To eat.
No, I don't want a steak. Let's just grab some tacos on the way to the shop. I have some stuff I want to try out.
Okay. We can get some tacos on the way, or we can get a steak afterwards.
What are you talking about? I'm not paying for a steak. It's stable.
And the lighting there, it's just really natural, right?
Right.
And it pulls you in. Like it feels, again, like a real conversation between two real people that you're witnessing.
Sure.
If he had had a budget of like another $500, would he have lit that scene differently? You know what I mean?
It's a good example because it feels like this is the difference between this movie and something like El Mariachi.
Okay,
Yeah. Like Robert Rodriguez, El Mariachi,
Definitely.
right? There's all kinds of behind-the-scenes filmmaking techniques that he used because Robert Rodriguez was a filmmaker.
Yeah.
He knew what he was going to do and how he was going to do it, and all these creative ways of creating a soft blue light with what amounts to a floodlight from Home Depot and some blue plexi paper.
Yeah.
You know, knowing how to light a scene and craft a mood from that lighting. These are the things that, visually speaking, you're a storyteller, you're a filmmaker, and you know these things. Whereas the other things I was describing was like, oh, it'd be awesome if the camera was shooting from this angle, is like very amateurish in a way that, like, you think you know what you're doing as a filmmaker, but... And I'm guilty of this. I made a student film and I wasn't even in the film department. Like, we would film things and I thought I was just the shit because I wanted to have some kind of reflection in this shot.
Yeah, I think it's like...
You think you're hot shit, but it's...
It's like you saw Citizen Kane and you were like, let me shoot this like that. But it's like without really understanding that, like, there's
Everything
a
about
reason
it, yeah.
that Orson Welles wanted to build the set of the newspaper on stilts so he could get the camera under the floor and
Right.
look up. There's a storytelling inspiration behind that, right?
Right.
It looks great on film, but it's informing you about the characters simultaneously.
Right.
That's what you're
And
saying.
It is. And then there are moments in this film that make me think, well, he gets that too.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
the one that I really point to they refer to this time machine as the box.
Yeah.
Right? And there are shots early in this movie where you could really equate the garage itself as a box.
Yeah. Yes.
And all the activity that's happening inside the garage versus what's being kept outside of the garage. And one of the very first shots, the garage door is opening and it has Abe and Aaron in the garage while Phil and Robert, the two outsiders that think they're in the group but then end up sort of on the outside, right? Like
right.
Abe and Aaron start working on their own project and Phil and Robert kind of get left working on their thing without really knowing what Abe and Aaron are doing.
Philip and Robert are interested in something else early on. Like they're
Right.
like, I don't know if this is really what we want to be doing right now. And as soon as Aaron and Abe realize they're on to something significant, they're like, let's not get them in here.
Yeah, let's not tell them.
We've done this work ourselves, and I don't know if I'm ready to bring in anybody else.
Exactly. And that I feel like is told very well because as the garage door opens in this particular establishing shot, Phil and Robert are coming around the building to the front as the door opens, and Abe and Aaron are already inside. Very much visually telling the story of insiders and outsiders. And then the garage door itself has a series of windows in it.
Yeah.
A series of square windows in it that he sometimes shoots through.
That's a great.
Into the garage.
Too. Yeah.
And you can use those frames as boxes.
Yes.
You know,
to separate characters from one another.
Yeah, and like this person is inside the box and that one is not. And all the while they're building up this time machine. Then they refer to it as a box. It can't be a mistake unless I'm bringing a lot to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the azure blue and the silver boots that my dad brought
yeah.
to you. You're just like,
Look at
Dad, you really think that's what Vonnegut was talking about? And he's like, it doesn't matter. It's what I bring to it, right?
I think that's all very intentional. I think what you're talking about is absolutely intentional.
Yeah, I think so too. And the one that really
I think what your
caps it
dad
off-
was talking about also probably intentional. I think he had some good readings there.
It may be, yeah, maybe.
That's great, Brian. He gets an A on that paper.
Run the montage.
I think that the shot that really pulls all of this together and makes me believe that it's all intentional is they're outside playing basketball, discussing what they can and can't do with this box and what it means for them.
I just want you to see it the way I saw it.
I am trying, okay? I really am here.
Look, everything we're putting into that box comes ungrounded. And I don't mean grounded like to the earth. I mean not tethered. I mean, we're blocking whatever keeps them moving forward, and so they flip-flop. Inside the box, it's like a street, and both ends are cul-de-sacs. I mean, this isn't frame dragging or wormhole magic. This is basic mechanics and heat 101.
This is not mechanics and heat.
We can publish. Yeah, we can publish. No, I mean, we can really publish. Oh, Aaron, the Weeble's stupid. It can't move. I mean, even if we were to put the Weeble in at point B, it's still just going to bounce around back and forth until it gets kicked out at the B end. But if it were smart, it can enter at the B end and exit at the A end before it flips back.
You're talking about making a bigger one. You're talking about making a bigger one.
I didn't say anything. You're the one talking about it. So you believe me?
This thing is now a discovery, and this thing now works, and we're really on to something. And in that same moment, the box is in the foreground, and it's really, really big and silhouetted, and it separates the two of them.
Yep.
So they bracket the box 1 foot by 3 feet or something like that, right?
I mean, it's bulky, but it's like the size of like a microwave.
Right, but in this shot, because it's in the foreground, it's the size of a person.
Yeah.
Big enough for a person to be in and divided by it. If that's intentional the way that it definitely feels, that's fucking awesome.
Yes.
You are fined 1 credit for a violation of the verbal morality statute.
There's no other reason for that shot to exist.
No,
other
right.
than intentionality. You know, like that's not one of those shots that you're like, wouldn't it be cool if? It's like
exactly.
The only reason you have that shot in there is for exactly the intent that you're talking
exactly about. That purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so nice. That's what leads me to believe that maybe the other things that I find very anecdotal with these framings and stuff, maybe not as much as I think they are.
Yeah.
Except that except that in my youth, I thought about things that way. You know what I mean? I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I shot this from the low angle and looked up at it?
Sure, being like, young and thinking you're hot shit is...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And some of those things I recognize in this movie. And it's the same thing with, like, my comic book work, you know? Because, like, when you're doing a comic book page or a comic book panel, it's all about composition and laying out what's going to be in the foreground, what's going to be in the background. One of my professors used the term meat and potatoes to describe basically any composition. A great composition will have the meat of the picture sort of in the foreground and small, but all the negative space are the potatoes, and they're just as important. So if you've got this big kind of blank space like I was talking about, like a blank wall on one side, and then your characters are in the foreground, it gives so much more emphasis to your characters in the foreground.
Yeah.
Like the meat and potatoes concept. And I felt like that's what he was playing with a lot, and I gave him a lot of credit for it. But that particular shot with the use of the garage and then later the storage units, all boxes.
Everything's
right?
a box.
Keeping a box inside a box inside a box.
When they're in Kroger, boxes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I specifically did look for the signage to figure out what grocery store they were in.
Let's go Krogering, the happy way to say.
It was a Kroger.
Okay. Yeah, we have Kroger.
Yeah.
You have a Kroger where you are?
I don't think we do. You don't
anymore. Have a Kroger?
The Krogers have been consumed by Harris Teeters.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We're all in on the teat here.
That's funny. One of the Krogers in Virginia, it took over a Harris Teeter.
Wow.
Years ago.
Real. It's tough out here on the streets.
The one other thing that I would say he uses, I don't think would have the same effect on Gen Z or maybe even a millennial.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
There's a lot of jump cutting in this, used intentionally to show the passage of time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't move the camera.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a rule in film where you don't necessarily want to cut without moving your camera. Uh-huh. And people do that all the time in YouTube now because you just set up your camera to shoot you. And if you mess up your dialogue, you just stop and you start over again and then cut it. So you're constant, like the person.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I wonder. I wonder how Gen Z processes stuff like that. Was it just like, they must have just cut out some dialogue there and just kept going?
Yeah, it doesn't faze them. I think they just think that that's natural filmmaking now. And here it's used for an effect.
Yes.
And if you're cutting without moving the camera, that's a big no-no unless you're doing it for a purpose.
Right.
And in the realm of being 14 and setting up your phone as a camera so that you can talk to your friends on YouTube and then have to edit it together and not worry about whether your movements are natural or whether you're cutting away to something else so that you can come back to this scene without losing coherence. That's a huge loss, I think, in filmmaking, because I don't like that that's so accepted now, that it used to be so jarring, but now we've all watched so much YouTube that it's just kind of second nature to see something jump cut.
I hope that we haven't devolved to the point that we can't tell the difference between filmmaking and YouTube.
Well, do we have any Gen Z fans out there
I don't
that
know,
could tell us?
Maybe. I mean, and this is not to knock Gen Zers. I just don't have the perspective that you guys have, and Nate doesn't either. So, if you guys are listening, please do.
I'm not sure I have the perspective of Gen X. Are you kidding?
Yeah, right. Gen Alpha.
Oh, God.
Got any Gen
Alphas
there
out
already?
We are, aren't we?
I think Waylon and Miles are Gen Alpha, right? Or are they going to be Gen Beta? That's the Gen you don't want to be.
No.
Judging solely from the
from the name alone.
Yeah. And the modern connotations. Oh, man. All I'll say about it is if somebody's self-identifying as an alpha, they are definitely a beta, guys.
That's great, Brian.
Okay, well, I have gone on too long about what I think filmmaking is.
Okay, no, I like that. I like that. So let's talk about the timeline here.
Precisely.
See if I got it right. I may be missing something. I may be...
Well, God, I hope not, because you're supposed to be the one that I'm coming to with questions for the later segment of, wait, what?
So, after the initial experiment with the Weeble Wobble demonstrates the causal loop, Abe creates 2 boxes initially. One that he shows Aaron, and Aaron is aware of, and then another in an adjacent storage unit called the failsafe. Right? The failsafe is turned on before the initial box and is left running constantly.
Right.
Abe uses the other box to travel back 6 hours. He meets Aaron on the park bench outside his apartment building and then takes Aaron to the storage facility where they observe Abe entering the box for the first time. So this version of Abe is technically 12 hours younger than the Abe that is sitting with Aaron outside that storage facility because he traveled back 6 hours and then he lived that 6 hours again.
Right. Well, most of those 6 hours.
Yeah. They build a second to Aaron, third to Abe box for Aaron to use, and they start traveling back together day after day after day.
Right.
Abe learns about the incident at Rachel's party from Robert, right? Or else Robert's party, isn't it? And Rachel's there?
It's a party that Rachel is...
Attending.
Yeah. And Rachel is
Abe's girlfriend. Yeah.
And the daughter of...
Thomas Granger.
Who they hope would invest in their company.
Correct. So after Abe learns about the incident at the party, he and Aaron find themselves being followed by an unshaven and distraught Thomas Granger. Abe, while Thomas Granger is following them, Abe calls the Granger's house and speaks to Thomas, who is at home at the time. So this Thomas that's following them is clearly from a different time period. A foot chase ensues, and future Thomas slips into a coma. They leave him at a hospital.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all.
Well, that's a strange scene because, like you said earlier, it's at night.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the natural lighting, all they really have is the patio light.
Yeah.
And I'm not entirely sure what happened because as Abe comes up on the scene, Aaron is also on the ground.
Yeah.
And it seemed like maybe they were in a fight and Aaron knocked him out.
Yeah.
Either that or they both just fell.
They just passed out.
And we don't really know what happened.
We don't. And that's something else I want to talk about is the side effects of time traveling. Right? Because Granger seems distraught. We know from seeing the toll it takes on Aaron, who starts exhibiting more severe signs earlier than Abe, which is perhaps a nod to the fact that he's utilizing the time travel more than Abe is.
More frequently.
The ear bleed. Their handwriting deteriorating over time is a really, really clever aspect of this because you, the viewer, notice it before they bring it up. Right, because you've seen them writing notes in the first third, around the halfway point, and then towards the end of the movie, and the handwriting just gets so much worse. Going along there, I was like, it's cool.
Yeah, I'm not going to take credit for it because I didn't come up with this by myself, but one of the interesting things I did hear from somebody else's observations, their theory for that moment was that, you know how they both put their hands over the machine before it was in the box?
Yeah.
What? Does it hurt?
No, I didn't feel anything. That sound is just weirding me out. Wow.
What does it feel like?
I don't know if I'm making it up.
Here.
The idea was that as they had their hands over top of this thing, their hands may have time traveled slightly.
Oh, wow. Ugh.
And that it is somehow their hands are slightly behind the rest of their mind and body, like a delay.
Oh.
Like their hands trying to keep up with their brains.
That's a clever idea.
Isn't that interesting?
That's,
I don't know if that's what it really is, but either way.
I don't know either, but that's an interesting idea.
They both had their hands up in that business, you know?
Yeah, they did have their hands up in that business. It made me think about that. It's the title of the episode, Hands Up in That Business.
It reminds me of that scene in Star Trek The Next Generation when Picard reaches for that bowl of rotten fruit in a time bubble.
Yeah.
And when he puts his hand in there, his hand gets really old. All of a sudden.
Yeah.
So Picard's hand is like 3 weeks older than the rest of his body.
They fixed all that on Picard.
Yeah, and shut up.
Okay, so Thomas Granger slips into a coma. At this point, Abe becomes concerned about the unknown dangers of what they're doing and altering the past. Mm-hmm. So he says he's going to stop the project before it even starts by using his failsafe to travel back to the day he first used the box.
Well, he doesn't say that. Don't confuse
No. He doesn't say that to Aaron.
Right.
We see it happening.
Yeah, he decides that he's going to do
that. The voiceover narration tells us, I think.
Yeah. The phone call is the first paradox.
Oh, his phone rings.
Yeah.
When his phone rings and he's not sure.
He answers it in the hotel.
Yeah, because he accidentally, quote unquote, brought his cell phone back with him. So there's two versions of his cell phone existing simultaneously.
And that happens before this Granger stuff. Do you want to go back?
Does it happen before? I thought it happened after the Granger stuff.
No, because this was the first example of a potential paradox.
Yeah, this isn't all-inclusive. I will tell you that. This is more trying to make sense of, like, the general linear timeline that these two guys are experiencing. But yeah, the cell phone thing is interesting because they posit that maybe his cell phone rings because it's simply closest to whoever's calling.
Right, because it's on the network, yeah. So this is the first example of a potential paradox because he's in the hotel waiting for their turn to get into the time machine, and he answers the phone. And then he gets that same phone call 6 hours later, after having time traveled, that his double should be answering.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's the same phone call coming in, but he's getting it after having time traveled instead of before having time traveled. And you would think that they were expecting that the double in the hotel was going to pick up the phone and have the conversation.
Right, because he's already done that.
But it kept ringing.
Yes.
So that was their first kind of indication that we can affect the future after all.
Right, we can change things and maybe it doesn't blow the world up.
Right, so when things change and they don't turn into pink goo like Time Cop, it's like, okay, well, I mean, I guess we can play with this a little more than we were afraid of before.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
When they started, it was like they shut everything off. We're going to go to this hotel. We're going to stay in this hotel and not even look at the world for 6 hours.
Yes. Yeah.
That's when they decide, because this phone call didn't end everything in some kind of paradoxical explosion or whatever it was going to be, they started to exhibit a little more freedom with their activities.
Well, I mean, Aaron definitely does.
Aaron does.
Right. And that's likely the point at which he decides, okay, I can take this box back. Now, here's the question. There is a point around the middle of the movie, and I think it's before that phone call part, I could be wrong, where there's a conversation about vermin in Aaron's house.
Did you call pest control?
Babe, they're birds. You don't want a bunch of dead baby birds up there, do you?
They don't sound like birds.
She thinks there are rats in the attic.
Well, actually, it's Aaron up in the attic.
Yeah.
Right? It's another version of Aaron that's trapped up in the attic that we don't know about yet.
Now, we're expecting that you guys have all seen this
Please
movie.
have watched this movie. Oh, for God's sake.
Because the conversation, not only would we be ruining things, but this conversation will make no sense to you.
I can't imagine it would, other than Nate's stuff about the filmmaking aspects of it, which...
Yeah, that smart stuff I said earlier.
That's universal, but you still need to have watched the movie to understand everything.
Right.
So at that point, after Future Thomas, Abe says, all right, this is getting too out of hand. There are unpredictable variables happening now, and we need to stop this. So he goes back in time, using the failsafe, sedates his original version right?
Right.
And then proceeds out to meet Aaron on the park bench. Now, Aaron, just like the first time, has earbuds in, headphones on, claims to be listening to basketball, right?
Right.
But what Aaron is actually listening to is a recorded conversation of that day's events that he has previously lived through.
There he is. Been calling you all morning.
Where'd you call?
Your work and yourself?
I'm not there.
Really?
March Madness?
It's Carolina, Michigan.
Who's up?
I don't even know what.
You have anything important at work today?
I hope you're not implying that any day is unimportant at Cortex Semi.
Just, look, I was gonna come give you this big speech about how we've been friends for a long time and built up trust and that whole big thing. But how about this instead? If you ditch work this afternoon and promise to do the few small things that I ask you, I will, in return, show you the most important thing that any living organism has ever witnessed.
Mm-hmm.
And Abe comes out and starts talking to him, and Aaron's responses don't line up because Aaron is basing his responses on the original dialogue.
Right.
And suddenly Aaron realizes, wait a minute, this is deviating too much.
Yeah.
And Abe realizes that the Aaron he's talking to is not the original version of Aaron that was sitting out there on the bench, and he faints. The two of them then have a conversation.
A come to Jesus moment?
Yeah. And Aaron reveals that, yeah, like he's discovered through traveling back on his own via a box that he himself brought back.
Yeah.
That he could keep replaying events over and over and over again until he gets a preferred outcome, essentially. Now, one of the coolest
how does
things,
that work again? So he has a box, a disassembled box that he takes back in time with him.
He starts that box.
Yeah.
And then he caps the box at some point, like shuts it off, and just keeps replaying the day of the party over and over again.
Yeah.
Right? Until he can get, again, a preferred outcome where Rachel's ex-boyfriend is arrested and removed from the table because, as he says, this is the only way we can determine where he'll be and ensure that he's going to do something that is egregious enough to get arrested for. Otherwise, if left unchecked, he could come back at any time and do something that is actually legitimately harmful to Rachel.
Right.
So what he's doing is trying to ensure Rachel's safety.
Right.
He has done this time and time and time again. And one of the coolest things that he has discovered is that through recording the day's dialogue and just sort of replaying it and copying it and mimicking it to make sure that the timeline stays intact, even when there's a small deviation, as there is on the basketball court, where he shoots and misses the shot, and the recording you can tell he made the shot.
Right.
Within a sentence or two, everything's right back on track.
Right.
Right? So even these small deviations get pulled back into the main, like, this is the way time is going. Right?
Right.
So it's interesting to me that he's able to recognize that and manage that.
Manage it back to where it needs to go.
Just tells you how many times he's gone through this process, right?
Right.
So, following the incident at the party, Abe and Aaron part ways. Abe stays behind and, again, implies that he's going to try to stop the project from ever occurring. And Aaron's like, good luck with that. I'm going off to South America, and I am going to build a box the size of a warehouse.
I don't think he says that part out loud.
He doesn't say it out loud, but we see it at the end of the movie. Really great ending, by the way. Man.
Yeah. Again, I think you skipped an Aaron because
there is the Aaron that's unconscious.
There's the Aaron that's unconscious.
The Aaron in the attic that comes out.
There's the Aaron in the attic, and then there's an Aaron that put the Aaron in an attic that the third Aaron went back and tried to stop but couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that Aaron went off to France, I think.
Yeah.
They talked it out, and he convinced that Aaron to leave and go to France. So by the end of this movie, there are three Aarons. One of them has never time traveled, and one of them time traveled back and put the first one in the attic, And then the third one tried to put that Aaron in the attic, but didn't manage to.
Yes, exactly.
So,
like it's hard. It's really, really hard to hammer down everything in this movie.
For sure. As far as paradoxes are concerned with this movie, this operates very similarly, I guess, to Time Crimes.
Yes. Yeah.
When Aaron goes back and stops himself from going to that bench so that he could fill in and have that initial conversation with Abe, the double that wants to fill in for the original Aaron can't really exist if original Aaron doesn't time travel.
Right.
But he doesn't time travel. He gets locked up in the attic. So where does double Aaron come from?
Like, that Aaron lived the life he led. Right? And made all the decisions he did. That's how you can end up with 3 different Aarons at the end of the movie. Right.
And so the idea, I guess, in this movie is that they assume that they can affect change on a timeline, but it really seems like it's creating multiple universes, I guess. When we talked about Time Crimes, one of the things about that big time knot was that the first chronological event happens in the future. Right? Which is really the fascinating part of that movie. You know, you get caught in this loop where the future is affecting the past.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
This is the same thing, except you get to see what sent the character to the future. And even though it now hasn't happened, the actual inciting incident was created in the future, and it is now affecting the past. So, like, when Double Aaron gets out of the box in the future and stops himself from time traveling in the first place, but still continues to exist, you have to believe that Aaron 2, that came out of the box, that's basically his first incarnation, right?
Right.
Sort of?
If you're comparing those two movies, you kind of have to think of it from the perspective of a complete outsider. Like, if you are just a person existing and observing what's happened, the action in Time Crimes, nothing happens that contradicts any of it, right? It's a predestination kind of thing, right? Like, one thing affects the other, and nothing looks amiss. Nothing alters about it. It's like everything plays out the way it has to, and then it reaches a termination point where everything is kind of straight from there. Right. With Primer, if you're just a bystander watching things happen, the only version of events you would recall, the final version that is enacted with Rachel's party, right? The only thing that matters is the last time you do it. All of the other...
Because they're erasing the events of the prior?
Yeah, they're essentially doing it over again, right? But only from their perspective. From our perspective, things would just keep going and nothing would look weird. But the only people with memories of those previous attempts would be the people that were directly involved in it, like Aaron and Abe. That's why Abe is only aware of it happening one time, is because he wasn't with Aaron on those other attempts. Right? So Aaron's the only one who remembers that, yeah, we made 50 attempts to do this. Right? But from Abe's perspective, it's an event that happened one time.
Right. But from those rules, it seems like none of them could happen because Aaron never time traveled. He got locked up in the basement by a mystery assailant.
But he had already time traveled. That's the thing.
But not that one.
From the very
that
first
one hadn't.
Yeah, that one hadn't, but it had already happened once. What this movie is positing is that there is no such thing as a paradox that would disrupt the time stream in the way you're thinking. Like, the last thing that happened is the only thing that matters. And so that original Aaron, he was always a time traveler. And that other one that got locked in the attic that never time traveled, he never time traveled. But that other Aaron always time traveled. But that's how you end up with two
Aaron
of them.
that always time traveled only exists because the first Aaron should have time traveled.
But he is the first Aaron. They're not the same Aaron anymore, right?
Well, they're both existing at the same time, and he's trying to prevent that Aaron from interfering with his actions.
Well, it's more like alternate dimensions. We end up in a version of this where the original Aaron never time traveled, and yet the original Aaron, from our viewing perspective, absolutely time traveled the most. It's not like a situation where, because the original Aaron didn't time travel, or Aaron that did time travel suddenly disappears.
Right. It's whatever rules you're going to end up setting your story around. And I think a lot of them, like Back to the Future, for example, would be like, well, if this doesn't happen, it affects
everything in the past
me.
Directly affects the future. And I think it would matter more if we were traveling back from a far enough point in the future for it to matter. But like the events of this movie take place over the course of like 5 months, you know, from beginning to end.
Really just like 5 days, isn't it?
No, because there's a subtle hint to this at the beginning of the movie that it starts at Christmas time and then it ends like in spring. You have to really be looking for it. When they first start the initial experiment, when they're traveling in time, that's like 5 days.
Yeah. Right. Because there's all that time of them actually creating the time travel, like building the box, trying to figure out how to build it. What is it doing? How's it work? Yeah. Okay, yeah.
That's another part of what makes this movie feel real and makes the science feel plausible, is that there's just so much uncertainty about it. And the point is that even these two guys don't know what they're doing.
Right.
It looks to Aaron like, so we can't really fuck things up. And then Abe is like, Mr. Granger seems nuts. I think we can fuck things up. And the two of them just take those lessons respectively and run with them to their ultimate destinations.
Yeah.
So does it fuck things up? Does it not fuck things up? We don't really have an answer to that question.
Well, I would say that it makes things messy.
Well, I mean,
you want my
for
perspective
us, I mean,
on
it's
the matter.
obviously made things messy.
Right.
But the stance the movie takes is that as far as it being some sort of catastrophic paradox that collapses the timeline,
the encounter could create a time paradox, the results of which could cause a chain reaction that would unravel the very fabric of the space-time continuum and destroy the entire universe. Granted, that's a worst-case scenario.
Like Doc Brown says.
Right. Those don't exist here.
Right.
Because you're experiencing it from Aaron's perspective in a linear way. That first Aaron traveled through time. He came back. He did it over and over and over again in the box. And whether the earlier version of him that he encounters time travels or not is irrelevant, because that original Aaron always did.
So the other part of this that helps them sort of determine their points of view on all of that is this event with punching Platt in the face.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So Aaron actually convinces Abe that it is something that they can do, but only in this specific instance because Aaron was woken up in the middle of the night by some kids setting off car alarms.
Right. Yeah.
And what he surmises is that they can turn on a box, right? Go punch Platt in the face like they wanted to, and then come back to this point, stop the kids from setting off the car alarms so that his double never wakes up and will get in the box as normal.
Yeah.
Right? So that was their first kind of, well, maybe we can pull this off and do something without really fucking things up. So that was an attempt to see if they could do things without affecting change. Because what you were just saying about how it seems like, based on your perspective, either you're messing things up or you're not. Early, they continue to operate as we have to make sure that our doubles get in the box.
Yeah.
Right? Which leads me as the viewer to think, okay, if their doubles don't get in the box when they're supposed to, it's going to create a huge problem where they may cease to exist. Right?
Sure, but we're basing that on what we understand, what we're bringing, the baggage that we're bringing into it of other time travel stories.
Right.
Like that.
I guess. But because they don't want to affect any kind of change themselves, they sequester themselves off in a hotel room so that they don't even know what's on the news. And they don't want to do anything that will prevent their earlier selves from turning on the box and getting in.
Mm-hmm.
So that they will exist to do it again. They set out these rules, what they believe are going to be the rules for it. And then as that starts to unravel and they can't stay on their narrow track,
let's go to the library. You know what? Let's go get subs.
They start to decide, well, yeah, we kind of messed this up, but look, nothing happened. And that's what the phone call was, right?
It starts small. It starts small. And then they're like, okay, well, if that didn't screw things up, then maybe we can try this. And maybe we can try this. And maybe we can try this.
Right. And maybe I don't have to worry about whether I actually wake up or not. You know, like whether my double gets up and gets in the box or not. It's not going to stop me. I exist now, which means I can now go back in time and drug myself, tie myself up, and put myself in the attic. Like,
there's no grandfather paradoxes.
Yeah. In fact,
movie.
they kind of point that out. I think they might use that as the example.
I'm not going to pretend like I know anything, okay, about paradoxes, or what follows them. And honestly, I really don't believe in any of that crap anyways. I mean, kill your mom before you're born, whatever. It has to work itself out somehow.
I don't know, man.
Look, this is what I know for sure, okay? About the worst thing in the world is to know that the moment you're experiencing has already been defined. That this is the second, or third time through, or whatever. And do you ever feel, like, I don't know, maybe things aren't right, like maybe your life is in disarray or just not what you would like, and you start to wonder, what caused this? How did things get like this? People are always blaming their parents, as if their mom would have breastfed them, their lives would have turned out different.
A bunch of whiners.
Yeah, they're a bunch of whiners. I mean, but what if it wasn't something you wonder about, What if you knew for sure this is not the way things are supposed to be?
See, man, I'm not like that. I'm not into the whole destiny, there's only one right way.
Babe, I'm not either, okay? But what's worse, thinking you're being paranoid or knowing you should be? You don't have to look at me like that, I'm okay.
Yeah, it makes it interesting because normally you just expect a time travel movie to set out its rules and then over the course of the film risk disrupting those rules. Right? How are they going to manage to maintain these rules given what we know and what's happening right now?
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
It's more like, hey, we think these are the rules. It's kind of like you and me. It's like, well, based on what we've seen, I've seen a lot of movies.
Yeah.
So we probably should avoid X, Y, and Z. But as soon as X gets disrupted, it's like, oh, well, that didn't do anything. What happens when we do Y?
Yeah.
And gradually they're like, so there aren't really rules then.
Except, as you pointed out earlier, they draw different conclusions.
Yes.
And that's...
Abe's like, this dude might be my father-in-law one day. Come on.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I think...
Somewhere down the line, Thomas Granger is like, your kids, Abe! Something's got to be done about your kids! And that's what starts it.
I think that these are the things that could lead to character change and story narrative. In the small term, we kind of get the idea that Aaron becomes corrupted by this ability.
Sure.
Right? And he's the one that abuses it and decides that the rewards outweigh the risks and never really deviates from that plan, even when he's recognizing the fact that there are now 3 of him and they're willing to just kind of go out their separate ways, right?
Yeah.
And then Abe, early on, because he's the one that wants to use it for personal gain and comes back and loops his friend in on it, he's already abusing this thing that he's just discovered, right? So at the very beginning, we've got the guy that we think is abusing time travel and the guy he's introducing it to. And those characters start to change by the end of the movie where Aaron is just polluting the timeline, more or less.
Yeah.
But I feel like those are things that, like I said earlier in the podcast, get lost in favor of all this conversation about the timelines and whatnot.
Yeah, I think it's only upon like the 4th or 5th viewing that you really start getting to a point where you can talk about Abe and Aaron and their personal decisions.
Yeah, as the characters. They almost need to push that Jekyll and Hyde thing a little further, I think, with Aaron, because a lot of his actions are to go back and save Rachel, right? And lock up Rachel's crazy boyfriend. Like, I guess my question is, like, why is that what he decides to focus on? Changing that outcome. You know, the boyfriend comes in and brandishes the shotgun at this party and threatens Rachel with it. But Aaron is there and he stops him. Or maybe the first go round that we didn't see, he didn't stop him. Right?
Right, we didn't see it.
We didn't see it, but
That's
the second time he did, and then the third time he did it differently, and then the fourth time he did it even more convincingly.
It's really down to whose perspective are we seeing this movie from?
Right.
I mean, the answer is Abe's, right? So from Abe's perspective,
okay,
he only lived through it once. Like, we know Abe's got the failsafe before we know that Aaron's got his own version of the failsafe, right?
Yeah.
And Abe finds out about Aaron's
But we sure follow
stuff.
Aaron a lot more.
We do follow Aaron. I wouldn't say a lot more, but Aaron feels like the main character.
Yeah.
Because he's got main character energy, I think.
He also has a family.
He also has a family. That's a good point. But Abe is the one we're ultimately seeing the events of the movie from, because when he sees Robert after the party, Robert makes a comment about Aaron saving the day.
Yeah.
Right? So the outcome that we see of Aaron stopping him at the party is already guaranteed the only version of this that Abe's going to experience.
Yeah.
Right? It's also worth noting that the first time Abe meets Aaron on that park bench,
he's always had the headphones in.
Right? That's the point. Like, the version of Aaron that we meet on that park bench is a version that's already lived through this. Potentially a version that's already lived through this. Right?
So
we know more about the story from Abe's perspective than we do Aaron's perspective up until like the last 15 minutes of the movie.
Right. Man.
If you're gonna build a time machine into a car, why not do it with some style?
We've been talking about time travel. Are we ready to talk about this method of time travel as something we want to rank?
Oh, yeah. Jesus. Are we ever?
One of the best things about this method of time travel is that you can essentially time travel while you're sleeping.
That does help, even though it's evidently a really rough 6 hours.
Yeah, but so they say. I feel like I could sleep in it.
Oh, shit. You kidding me? Look, it can't be worse than the sleep I'm getting on a nightly basis now. Jesus.
It's like when they want you to not fall asleep in a CAT scan.
So you're telling me that I can climb in this box, sleep for 6 hours, and I don't have to worry about anybody stealing the covers. I don't have to worry about my kid coming in the bed. I don't have to worry about my dog digging a hole through my fucking mattress. Cool. Great. Sounds great. Sign me up.
Should mention that we are currently recording this podcast at 2 a.m. I shit you not.
Yeah. I'm not even trying to sleep tonight. Yeah. I mean, that automatically gets it high marks on my book. A time travel machine that you can sleep during?
I will say that, you know, we rank these methods of time travel basically on any metric that we want on any given time. Because there's an argument to be made for this being a really shitty time machine. But, that being said...
I don't think it is.
No, there is. I mean, I think if you've got the choice between a TVA time door that you can walk through to go somewhere, anywhere, versus having to wait an actual 6 hours to actually get back 6 hours... I mean, that's not a very effective time machine.
It's not. I mean, there's certainly more efficient methods, but like...
Right. Before you try to defend it too much, what I will say is this has to rank high because of how unique it is.
This is one of the most well-defined time travel devices in cinema. The invention of it is such a focal point of the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Right.
When you get to it, you already have a vague understanding of how it works.
But you find out more about it as the movie goes on.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that from a visual perspective, it's like the time travel hammock from La Jetée. They worked with what they had.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's some PVC piping and some canvas and some fake wires and stuff.
It's so ramshackle that when they loaded it on the flatbed of the truck to take it away from the U-Haul, it fell apart on the drive back to the house. And they just took it to a dump and tossed it.
That notwithstanding, what's fascinating here is because it's a cyclical loop, it takes just as long to get back to the starting point as it took the regular passage of time.
Right, it's not instantaneous.
Pretty much every other cinematic time machine that I can think of, you basically make that leap in the matter of seconds.
Yeah.
So it's a really fascinating idea that I think deserves some real recognition on our list.
Sure.
If nothing else. Is it as great as a time regressor? Not in usage in the way that I would normally rank these things, but
it's certainly more unique than that.
As a thought experiment, and that being as heady as it is, it's got to be up high.
It's fully realized. Most of the time with a time travel movie, there's probably a lot of thought that went into the events and not a lot of thought that went into the methodology. Even as much as we love Predestination, right? And the field kit in Predestination, and that's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
But the time machine isn't as cool as the events of the movie are.
Yeah.
It feels like it took ages to figure out how this thing works and how multiple devices powered up at once would function in conjunction with one another. The amount of time that went into this, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. I mean, points off for what it looks like, but
sure,
that's not the point.
Sure. You know the tagline for this movie that I just love?
What is it?
What if it works?
Oh,
That's
cool.
a fucking great tagline, man. High marks.
Where are we at with like 1 through 4?
Okay, so number 1 is The Guardian of Forever. Number 2
Right.
is the Time Machine from Free Jack. Number 3 is the Field Kit from Predestination. Number 4 is the Time Cop Rail Car.
Oh.
Number 5 is The Clock That Went Backward.
Clock That Went Backward. I love The Clock That Went Backward.
I do too, but it's better than The Clock That Went Backward. It's the
Yeah.
same sort of device, but I think this is way better than that.
If you ask me this time next year, I'll wonder whether I think the rail car is better than this. But right now, I think this is better than the rail car.
I think it's better than the rail car. I think it's better than the Field Kit.
There's a lot of cool stuff about the field kit. I mean, we don't know how the field kit works necessarily, but it is really
cool. Fucking cool, though.
I mean, like, how do you want to weigh it? Because, like, the field kit is a little mysterious as to how it works, but it's disguised like a violin case, and it's all noir.
It is
and
very neat.
Cool.
The movie is great.
Yeah, really fucking cool time machine.
Now we're trying to figure out if this is a better movie than Predestination.
I think it's a better movie than Predestination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do too. I mean, it's certainly a better movie than Free Jack, but the Free Jack Time Machine is...
Yeah, I don't know if I want to put it ahead of the Free Jack Time Machine.
I don't know if I would either, but
I think it's somewhere around that mark, though, like 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me to choose between this and the field kit. It's almost like 3A and 3B.
Yeah, it's really on the margins. I agree. It's like right there.
One is awesome because of how it tells the story, and then the other one is awesome because of the way it looks and the effects that they use and what
the
you
effects
can imagine.
The effects are so minimal. It again feels like this.
Just
it's like we didn't need big flashy effects to make and convey this time travel, right?
Yeah, it was just the loss of mass that came with him just disappearing.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's so fucking cool. And then, like I said, the way they've decided to disguise it and how the clock is the lock on the case.
Yeah, okay, all right. You've convinced me. I think this should be...
I don't know. I'm not I don't know what I'm convincing you of.
No,
I can't decide.
I think number 4. I think it should be in slot 4.
4. Okay. I think we're going to get flack for that. Right in. Where would you put it?
So putting this right under the field kit for Predestination and just above the Time Cop rail car from Time Cop.
Yeah.
We'll, of course, see Time Cop again later this month, so maybe we'll regret this.
If I remember. Again, the rail car fell for me when I realized that car disappears off the track at the end.
Right, and then we don't know where does it go? We don't know. It just
where does it
drops
go?
you in
How
a
does
lake.
it come back?
Stupid car.
Well, that was a discussion, and here it is 2 a.m. on the East Coast. And what are we talking about next?
Oh, man. Next, guys, I've been threatening it for a couple of months. Next up is The Time Guardian, starring Dean Stockwell and Carrie Fisher, and some Australian people I'm sure we'll grow to love. Most of the conversation next time is going to be spent wondering how and why Dean Stockwell and Carrie Fisher were in this movie, I'm sure.
Right now we're talking about something that's too smart for its own good to something that's almost assuredly too stupid for its own good.
I don't know. I mean, we may be surprised by The Time Guardian. I
Maybe.
cannot imagine that's going to be the case, but who knows?
I do want to put a caveat in here, though, that lots of things are going on in our lives. We're, again, recording at 2 a.m. Hopefully I will have this edited and out at its scheduled time. If not, and you've had to miss a week, I apologize. Maybe we didn't get to The Time Guardian because we're also running right up against, what?
Star Trek Month. Star Trek Month is running every Monday in September, guys. We're going to be looking at episodes from the original series all the way through to Enterprise this year. Last year, we didn't include Enterprise in favor of doing that Prodigy episode, which I think we were glad to have watched.
Yeah, I'm glad we watched that.
But,
yeah, for sure.
But this year, it's going to be TOS, TNG, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise. All 5 weeks of September.
Yeah, because again, 5 Mondays in September. How did we... Does that happen every year?
I hope not. Because at some
2
point,
years running.
at some point, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, but point being, if so comes a weekend that there's no episode of Oh Boy, it'll probably be The Time Guardian.
Yeah, well, we're going to do our best to get Time Guardian to you before Star Trek Month, guys.
But those are what you have to look forward to.
And thanks for listening to this one, guys. Of course, please subscribe, like, comment on our little podcast here wherever you listen. Hey, can you leave us a review? That'd be great.
A 5-star review.
Yeah, 5-star reviews only. Tell a friend. If you've got a friend who likes Primer, tell them about our podcast.
My father has actually told all of his friends about the podcast that he was on. So we've got some responses from my second cousin.
Oh, nice.
And a friend of my dad's from high school. Going all the way back. So obviously word of mouth helps.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, I kid, but for real, if you guys haven't watched Primer, make sure you watch Primer and then tell your friends to watch Primer and then tell them to listen to this podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Drop us a line. OhBoyQLPod@gmail.com is the email address. We've got dedicated social media pages now. You can follow OhBoyPod on Bluesky, Instagram, and Threads. I try to keep it updated a few times a week with visual aids. If you guys were following the last couple of weeks, you've seen some panels and pages from some of the comic books we talked about on the last 2 episodes. We'll try to keep that going for you as well.
Has anybody slid into our DMs yet for a candy bar?
Only Svetlana. She says, "You'll like my page?" And I said, "I do, Svetlana."
Oh.
Yeah. Send me Snickers.
Yeah, I don't think she said that.
No, she did not. Folks, as always, thank you for listening. Until next time, I'm Brian.
And I'm Nate.
And we'll see you in the future.
Oh boy, it's a Quantum Leap podcast. My name is Nate, and with me as a co-host we can all see and hear, it's Brian Martin.
Hey, hello.
Well, here we are, we're doing it. It's like a kind of an impromptu, let's do a podcast about this new show.
Yeah, we both have loved Quantum Leap, as near as I can tell, for 30 years, and it just sort of like blossomed out of well, what did you think? That sort of question.
Right.
And here we are.
To be honest, you and I don't know each other that well.
We've never met.
Right? It's been, in all honesty, maybe twice, right?
Correct, yeah.
And then we've sort of had this relationship over social media.
Yep.
So what I was thinking about is, given that I don't know you that well, I'm wondering which one of us, if both, are going to be the gatekeepers of original Quantum Leap. And are either of us going to be just like the curmudgeonly old man that's like, well, that's not my Sam Beckett.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I kind of went into this show not really knowing what to expect out of it.
Right.
And I do have strong feelings about the original series, as I know you do.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm interested to hear your takes, because I certainly have some.